Look, this is a silly thing, okay, but I love sentences that are wrong, such as the topic for today. I've been looking forward to saying to you that numbers is your friend, not are, is. I cannot get enough of sentences that are wrong and yet are also right. There's something more useful coming, I promise. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as always, is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads, sometimes also Apple Watches, maybe all of them anyway. Do subscribe because, there's always so much to talk about, or you could join me on Patreon. On the Patreon, one of the tiers, we have a weekly live 58 Keys writing sprint that's going really well, for me at least. Anyway, I've actually written 20,000 words of a novel just in those sessions. Love them. But anyway, numbers is your friend. I keep saying this, but follow. You have a Mac, an iPhone, or an iPad, or some combination of all of this, so I know that you're a writer who also has Apple's, spreadsheet app, Numbers. Let's use this. Let's use this free and actually very powerful app as a tool for our writing and the business of our writing. Specifically, a tool that's good for us getting our writing out to people. I should say straight away, though, I actually got this whole idea from the poet Jo Bell. I'll put a link to her site in the show notes. And she doesn't use numbers. What she does is she has this big whiteboard and something called a pen. I'm sure you've seen videos about them. I've done it in numbers, okay, and all right, that's possibly because I cannot read my handwriting. I'm not proud, but also because numbers is great for sorting things. It's great for helping you examine things in new ways. Hide a bit you don't want, focus on things you do. Excel's the same, actually. If you've got and used Microsoft Excel, you can do everything that I'm about to show you in that as well. But let me get on with showing it to you. Here is a blank numbers spreadsheet, and now a list of some of my short stories. In truth, these are all actually about to be published, but let's pretend they're not and that I'm just working through them all. I have them all at a stage to send out, say, to magazines or publishers like that. Jo Bell, by the way, is a poet, as I say, so instead of stories, she has her latest poems listed down the side here. I do think this, in this particular way, works best with lots of short pieces like that, but I have also used the same thing when looking for book publishers, or I have a literary agent, but I'm looking for one who specialises in a particular side end of my work for it, and I used a numbers spreadsheet in a ridiculously complicated but useful way to help with that. Best to show you, though, how Jo would use it if she used numbers instead of writing on boards or whatever madness people with good handwriting do. What she does is she lists her poems down the side, like I say, but then across the top she has a list of poetry magazines and poetry publishers, and she lists them across the top in the order that she rates them, that she would like to be published in. She is publishing all of them, but the most prestigious one comes first, then what I presume are the second choices, the third choices, and so on down the line. I actually don't know how many poetry publishers there are in the world, and I also wouldn't have a clue. Not only do I not know the rankings of them, the prestige, I don't know the names. I'm so not a poet. In this example, right, story titles real, they're mine, but I'm just making up a pile of publishers to go across the top. I think you get the idea. So now it's day one. I have this in front of me, and I am sending out this story, Reunion, to that publisher. I put the date in, the date that I actually submitted it to them, and actually, already, this is useful, because you can look at this again in a few weeks' time, and if you haven't done anything else, you can see when you sent it. You can see that presumably they haven't replied, or you would have made a note. You can make your own decision about whether you can chase them yet, whether you can't, or whether you basically just kiss that submission goodbye. They're never going to get back to you. If you do that, kiss it goodbye, or if they come back saying no, well, you can just put an X in their box, or you can write the word rejected, whatever you like, but then immediately move on to the next publisher. Write the date of that submission in. It's the same date. You get the rejection, you send it out. Jo says that what this does is turns the whole thing of submissions and rejections into practically a game. actually, she said to me was that it's got so that when a poem is accepted, she's a little bit disappointed that you can't now move it to the next box or the next cell along. She does also say that she gets over that quite quickly. But still, it means a rejection comes in and fine, whatever, it's just another X in the correct cell, and you're way off submitting to the next publisher. I think it's good impetus to get you sending it out to the next one and the next. Let's say, though, that when a piece is accepted, you do this instead. You enter a tick in the box. If you don't happen to already know, you can type a tick on a Mac by pressing Option V. I don't actually know a way to do it directly on iPhone or iPad, so I suppose I could do it once on a Mac and then copy and paste it on the iPhone. You could. I'd probably just, I don't know, decide a slash character is good enough for me, something like that. Just be consistent with however you mark it, and then this next thing works. Make sure you click somewhere in this table, as it's called, a table of publishers and stories, then click or tap on Organize up in the corner. And when you're in there, choose Filter. Now, add a filter and pick a column like Great Publisher, whatever. Quick filter there immediately offers you a choice of a blank or a tick, and if you choose tick, this happens. Everything vanishes from your spreadsheet except which stories have been accepted by the great publisher. All of the data, you know, all of the data is still there, but you can hide things like that. You can hide everything but one detail. When I do this, actually, I mean, I go a bit further. I have other columns that I keep notes in. It's a bit unwieldy, or I'd have shown it to you, but I keep a text cell at the end with dates of all of the submissions, and then what the rejection was like. Never darken door, or yeah, send us your next. Yeah, it's in that range, isn't it? I can then search for any of that. I can filter for any of that as long as I'm consistent with how I phrase it. So you've had a bad day, you can just look at all the ones that said, send us your next one, and you feel a bit better. It's worth it. True, you could do all of this in Pages or Word, and actually a reason someone might tell you now is I was with this group of writers on Saturday, and someone else was describing I was quite shocked actually, describing pretty much exactly what I do, what I've just showed you, although they were doing it in Excel. Most of the writers I was with, though, visibly thought, nah, that's too much, let's just keep it in a Word document. Yeah, but they also agreed Word is rubbish, and you can't very easily do that filtering. You can quickly see which publisher never takes your stories. I mean, if you do the filtering on the spreadsheet way, filter it out to who always rejects you, and you know ultimately it's not worth going back to them ever again. Or if you do what I do and keep the dates of submission, right, you could also keep all the dates of rejection or acceptance, and then you actually know what that publisher's average turnaround time is, and I bet you it's longer than they say on their website. I used to think, right, spreadsheets, they were just for, well, numbers, I mean, digits, figures, yeah. And for anything else, you should really be using a database so you can slice up your data. And I still think that's true. I think there is an argument for that. And actually, there's one job I do that I do use. I use an online database called Airtable for it. But the more I've been using numbers lately, actually to work out tax things, no wonder my mind was wandering, the more I've seen that it can do a lot of work for me in my writing business. It is a writing tool, even though you never write in it. Plus, actually, just by chance, I got an email from Airtable, the company, the other day, saying, I'm about to reach the limit on my account of whatever it is, and I cross over it, I'm going to have to go to the next tier. And fine, if I need it, but I'm looking at it, it's useful. I'm not sure it's actually all that useful for me and what I do. Invoice tracking, job tracking, I could do that in numbers pretty much as well. So I might move over to numbers more, but I just let me say it again. Numbers is your friend. And stop looking at me like that. There's a Dar Williams song, right, in which a final lyric is, I am the others. And I think that must be grammatically wrong, but in context, it's more than right. It's better than the right phrasing. But anyway, can't get enough of that. I'm so glad you're a writer and I can say this stuff. Listen, that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching. Now write more. Take care of yourself. Write more. Play with spreadsheets a little bit. And I'll see you soon.